Good afternoon, good morning from wherever you're listening from. This is Brina, and I want to welcome you back to the Midweek Motivation. We're here every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time on my Facebook page and Facebook Live. So thank you as always for joining me, and I hope you're having a good week. It's hump day for the work week. It's definitely hump day. So we're continuing this series, something that's turned into a series on Nehemiah. So we started off, the first word a few weeks ago was seek guidance. Then we talked about having a plan. Last week was the word believe. And so we're continuing. This is part 4. And today we're coming from Nehemiah chapter 4. And I'm going to read verses 1 through 6, and then I'll tell you what the word is. Coming from the NIV, it says, when Sanballat heard that we were rebuilding the wall, he became angry and was greatly incensed. He ridiculed the Jews. And in the presence of his associates and the army of Samaria, he said, what are those feeble Jews doing? Will they restore their wall? Will they offer sacrifices? Will they finish in a day? Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble, burned as they are? Verse 3, Tobiah the Ammonite, who was at his side, said, what are they building? If even a fox climbed up on it, he would break down their walls of stone. And this is Nehemiah's response in verse 4. Hear us, O God, for we are despised. Turn their insults back on their own heads. Give them over as plunder in a land of captivity. Do not cover up their guilt or blot out their sins from your sight, for they have thrown insults in the face of the builders. And then verse 6, so we rebuilt the wall till all of it reached half its height, for the people worked with all their heart. So the word for today is dealing with opposition. So we see over the course of what we've talked about, Nehemiah saw a need, he prayed about it, he had a plan, he moved forward, and he believed he could do it. And he assembled a team that also believed that they could accomplish this task of rebuilding the wall. So here we are. They've started, and here comes the opposition. So that's the word, dealing with opposition. Sanballat and Tobias are opposing the work that Nehemiah and his team are doing. Now, the opposition has come to distract them. These two people and their associates don't want Nehemiah and his team to rebuild the wall. So they're trying to distract them and to get them off course. And they're throwing shade, talking about, the wall's going to be so weak that a fox can jump on it and it will come tumbling down. And it also says in verse 1 of Nehemiah 4 that Sanballat became angry. Why would he be angry? Nehemiah is not doing anything to him. So there must be something inside of him that's causing him to be angry at someone who's not even bothering him, who's not even paying him much attention. So, how do we deal with opposition? Let's see how Nehemiah dealt with it. Basically, he went to God and said, hear us, O God, we're despised. Deal with them while we continue the work that you've called us to do. So that's a word for us today. As we're moving forward in what God has called us to do, we will run into opposition, and the opposition may not make sense. We may not understand why they're opposing us when we're not doing anything to them. We're just doing what thus saith the Lord. But just know that opposition will come, and our response to it is to not engage in the opposition, but to go to God and say, okay, God, you deal with them while I continue what you have called me to do. And look at what it says in verse 6. Even in the face of opposition, we rebuilt the wall till all of it reached half its height, for the people worked with all their hearts. So they did not allow the opposition, the shade throwers, the haters, to stop them from doing the work. They didn't engage with them. They continued being focused on what was most important, which was doing the work, and they gave them over to God. So, as you face opposition, and you will, particularly if you're walking in the will of God, doing what God has called you to do, there will be opposition. Don't engage. Be led to deal with it as God tells you to, but turn that over to God and continue doing what God has called you to do. And you will be successful because God will give you success. So that's how we deal with opposition. I hope that short message has blessed you and impacted you in some way. So we'll be back next week to continue the story of Nehemiah, and I hope you join us. Take care and have a